Well, as Aaron said in the welcome, this summer many of us in this congregation have been reading the same book at the same time, and we've had weekly Wednesday night discussions of it, and every Sunday the sermon has centered around one chapter of this book, which is 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life by the religious historian Karen Armstrong. Well, in 2008, Karen Armstrong won a TED Prize. You know the organization TED? Well, every year this nonprofit organization gives $100,000 to an exceptional individual to help grant that person's one wish for a better world. Well, when Karen Armstrong won her TED Prize, she knew immediately what her one wish for a better world was. She used her money to gather together leaders from various faiths to draft a charter for compassion to counter the voices of extremism, intolerance, and hatred in the world, especially in the world of religion. Well, the charter asks 5 things of religions and religious people: to restore compassion to the center of morality and religion, to return to the ancient principle that any interpretation of Scripture that breeds violence, hatred, or disdain is illegitimate, to ensure that youth are given accurate and respectful information about other traditions, religions, and cultures, to encourage a positive appreciation of cultural and religious diversity, and to cultivate an informed empathy with the suffering of all human beings, even those regarded as enemies. Well, I got to tell you that as a Unitarian Universalist, when I first read those 5 bullet points of the Charter for Compassion, I felt pretty smug. We already do all those things, don't we? Karen Armstrong's follow-up book that we're reading now is basically about how to get better at observing the Golden Rule, taught by all the world's great religions. But she organized her book on the model of Alcoholics Anonymous and other 12-step programs because she says, we are addicted to our egotism. We cannot think how we would manage without our pet hatreds and prejudices that give us such a buzz of righteousness. Like addicts, we have come to depend on the instant rush of energy and delight we feel when we display our cleverness by making an unkind remark. Thus do we assert ourselves and tell the world who we are. But surely that's not me, and that's not us, we Unitarian Universalists. Well, the Charter for Compassion right off the bat asks something that you find hard to do. It asks us to make a confession, to confess that we have sinned, fallen short of the mark, not lived up to our highest aspirations. It says, we acknowledge that we have failed to live compassionately, and that some have even increased the sum of human misery in the name of religion. But surely it's not me who's failed to live compassionately. It's somebody else, right? Our religion never increases the sum of human misery in its name, does it? It's those other religions, right? Well, I have a personal confession to make to you this morning. For all my my smugness, so much of the time I fail to live compassionately. Karen Armstrong tells us in the book that the Quran condemns as arrogant and divisive the aggressive tribalism that was tearing the Arabian Peninsula apart during the time Muhammad lived. So the Holy Book of Islam specifically warns against religious tribalism. But I confess that when I read the Charter for Compassion, I thought first of those Muslim fundamentalists whose religious tribalism is tearing our world apart today. I didn't think of us as possible violators. I thought of them. And Rabbi Hillel, the great Jewish teacher, said about the Golden Rule that it is all of the Torah, the law. All the rest is just commentary. But I confess that when I read the Charter for Compassion, I also thought of those uncompromising Israeli Zionists who refused to talk with their Palestinian neighbors. I didn't think of us. I thought of them. And in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says that what we now call the Golden Rule is the law and the prophets. In other words, is everything, is the only thing that matters. But I confess that when I read the Charter for Compassion, I immediately thought of how seldom Christians live up to Jesus' teachings. I didn't think of myself and how often I break the Golden Rule. I thought of them. And my immediate reaction when I read this week's chapter of the book was that I and we, Unitarian Universalists, are innocent of religious tribalism, and that they are the guilty ones. Well, my friends, I can't speak for you, of course, but I confess to you that I am guilty. I am every bit as guilty, and I fear that for all our pluralism and our tolerance, that we Unitarian Universalists are often every bit as guilty of violating the Charter for Compassion as those tribalistic Muslims, zealous Jews, or fundamentalist Christians. When I really took an honest look at myself, I realized that Karen Armstrong had me pegged correctly from the start, and that I desperately need her 12-step program. I am addicted to my egotism. I cannot think how I would manage without my pet hatreds and prejudices that give me such a buzz of righteousness. Just look at what I like and share on my Facebook page for evidence of that. Oh, I warmly embrace my fellow Unitarian Universalists and my liberal Christian colleagues and my Reformed Jewish friends who agree with me about most things. And I easily show compassion to everyone who shares my religious and social and political views. But the people who disagree with me, the Tea Party folks and the anti-choice people and the defenders of traditional marriage, not so much. It's so hard to feel compassion for them when I know that I am right and they are wrong. Right? In today's chapter of the book called Concern for Everybody, Karen Armstrong says, now we begin to expand our horizons to make place for the more distant other. Well, folks, I don't know about you, but for me, it's not the more distant other who's the problem. It's not people with different skin colors or who speak foreign languages. It's the people who look just like me and speak English just like me, but who are social and political and religious conservatives. Those are the people I have trouble making a place for, and they're not distant others at all. They're my literal neighbors on my own street, in my own town, my own state, my own nation. But Karen Armstrong says that if I want the human race to survive, I have to learn to feel compassion for them too. And my own Unitarian Universalist faith tells me that no matter what they think or even how they act, they are inherently every bit as worthy as the people of my own tribe. This is so hard. Now, as Aaron said last week, having compassion for another isn't the same thing as agreeing with them or approving of them. We must always speak for and stand on the side of love, not hate. But it does mean this: we must learn to suffer with, which is what the word compassion means, to suffer with even the perpetrators of wrong as much as we suffer with its victims. This is so, so hard to do. I know how hard it is for me. The Vietnamese Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh wrote a poem titled "Call Me by My True Names," in which he acknowledges that we all have evil done to us and we all do evil to others. In the poem, he says, "I am the child in Uganda, all skin and bones, my legs as thin as bamboo sticks, and I am the arms merchant selling deadly weapons to Uganda. I am the 12-year-old girl, refugee on a small boat, who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate. And I am the pirate, my heart not yet capable of seeing and loving." And my friends, so am I. I confess to you now, so am I. I have been the victim, but I have been the victimizer too. And so have you. And so have they, the people that it's so hard to include in our circle. How can we not have empathy and compassion for them also? We are all alike, all guilty, and all innocent. Like Mary Oliver, I tell you this to break your heart, by which I mean only that it break open and never close again to the rest of the world. My own heart breaks open in sorrow and in shame when I think about how little compassion I am usually able to show for the people around me who see the world differently from me. But here is the very good news that those of us who are reading the book this summer are learning. Research supports the idea that while we are neurologically programmed to look out for ourselves and those in our own tribes first, at the same time, other parts of our brains have evolved to hardwire us for altruism. Selflessness is as naturally human as selfishness is. We are capable of cultivating compassion. We can practice loving kindness and get better and better at it. There's a kind of Buddhist meditation called metta. We've done a bit of it in our Wednesday night book discussions. First, you extend loving kindness to yourself, saying some phrases like, "May I be free from danger. May I be happy." Then you think of someone to whom you feel grateful and you say, "May you be free from danger. May you be happy." The next person is someone you neither dislike nor like. You direct the same phrases to the neutral person. "May you be free from danger. May you be happy." And then you send metta to someone with whom you've had conflict, or for the purposes of this step in our program, perhaps someone you disagree with. In this election year, it should not be hard for you to conjure up someone. And so, thinking of this person outside your own tribe, you again say, "May you be free from danger. May you be happy." Finally, you conclude the meditation by offering loving kindness to all beings everywhere without distinction or exception. May all beings be free from danger. May all beings be happy. As hard as it is to do, the truth is that extending loving kindness to everyone without distinguishing between those who have helped us and those who have harmed us, between those who think like we do and those who could not possibly view the world more differently, isn't ultimately about them at all. It's about us, about who we are at the core of our very being. Karen Armstrong has been quoted as saying, "I say that religion isn't about believing things. It's about what you do. It's about behaving in a way that changes you." That's what the Charter for Compassion asks of us Unitarian Universalists as much as of Muslims and Christians and Jews and all religious people, to behave in a way that changes us. Yes, this is hard work. Karen Armstrong acknowledges that it's the work not of 12 easy steps that you can do one per week and check off as completed, but of a lifetime of continuous struggle. But she is convinced, and so am I, that it can be done, and it must be done for the sake of the human species on this ever-shrinking planet, or to make it more tribal, for the sake of our own children and grandchildren. So I invite you to work these difficult steps we are reading about this summer, and to practice extending loving kindness to all living beings, not only the righteous, not only our friends, not only the innocent person or the loon lying dead on the shore. May compassion be the center of our church. May the faith we learn here help us to behave in ways that will change us. May our religion help our hearts to break open to truth and self-truth and never close again to anyone.